It should only take about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how much I passionately hate the film. So this one might be pretty short. We only seem to go long on the ones I don't like. So.
Well, then what about El Dorado? You love that movie, and we went on for like an hour.
That's because you guys didn't like it enough, and I had to convince you.
It wasn't awful. It was okay.
What are you, homophobic? Come on, that's a great love story between two heteronormative but definitely homosexual men.
Yes, and they're, I don't want to say girlfriend, I don't want to say... What would you call Chell in that relationship?
You know the chick that kind of hangs out in Sense8 with the two gay guys that just watches them have sex and masturbates? I think that's her. And welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast, Netflix and Kill edition. Oh, wait, I shouldn't say that. It's not actually technically Netflix and Kill this week. It is our first ever Guest Flicks and Kill. That's right. I'm not ashamed of it. Not ashamed of the pun. We love them here.
Puns are great.
But yes, it is me, Nick the Merc with a mic, and my fellow unapologist, my normal unapologist, Justin. Justin, say hi.
Hello, Justin. No, sorry. Hi to the audience. Hi, audience.
And along with Justin, we have our first guest on Netflix and Kill, which is Patience. Patience, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Patience. Woo!
Hi. It's me, Patience.
I'm so happy to have you on, Patience.
Thank you very much.
I'm really excited to record with you sober. It's going to be a really interesting experience.
Wait, you guys were drunk on that review?
Maybe just a smidge. Just a smidge.
I could not tell at all. Wow.
I'm not going to say that I threw up like a college sorority girl later that night, and then actually blacked out. But I'm also going to say that I was drunk enough to eat crickets. So that was a fun night. That was a fun night.
I'm also not going to say that you were so drunk that we couldn't find your hotel room.
Oh my gosh.
Who puts a door in between the elevators and a hotel? You know what? We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into the geography of your weird Austin hotels, okay?
Listen to the reviews on oneofus.net so if you want context, listeners.
Yeah.
If you would like to listen to our drunken antics, you can either listen to the Deep Blue Sea review, where we are only slightly inebriated, commentary, or the 47 Meters Down review, which has a steady, where we snuck whiskey into the theater and played a drinking game out of Mandy Moore's breathing. And so, yes, we were very, I'm surprised
Every time she mouth breathed, we had to take a shot. And trust me, Mandy Moore breathes it out of her mouth a lot in that film. That's terrible, really.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're alive still at this. What the heck?
It was a good time. We enjoyed having you down here in blistering hot Texas.
I know. I'm actually sad to be back here where the humidity is fucked up, because I actually preferred your drier heat, I should say, because it's actually humid for you now this time of year. But for me, it was like a vacation.
Yeah, our heat index is 117 degrees today, so yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I still had to dress up in the Caliban outfit from from Logan, but yeah, I had fun. Anyway, I can't believe I met up with Patience and Austin's for the Deep Blue Sea commentary, and I was like, how have I not met this person? Like, this person is like my movie soulmate. We were making Leviathan references, Congo. I'm like, okay, I gotta have this girl on the podcast. She is way too much fun.
But Nick, I always agree with you with everything. She can't agree with you with everything too.
No, you see, she agrees with me, and also, she agrees with me and laughs at my jokes. I mean, Justin.
Oh, okay.
Justin, you chuckle every once in a while, but you just don't get my references enough.
I don't know, Nick. You did like 47 meters down in the end.
Whoa. I said it was slightly above average, and I
think you gave it like a solid 8.
No, I gave it a 6.
Oh, okay. Good.
You were drunk.
I said so. Too much bourbon.
Because as much as I kind of liked the first 2 acts. I'm like, this is pretty solid, but then that third act, ugh,
yeah, it was
stupid
abomination.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
But we're not talking about that film.
Today we're talking about a different film.
I will get through the intros eventually. I will hit it.
Segue.
But, yes, what film are we talking about today? Why, we are talking about the South Korean film, Train to Busan.
부산으로 가는 KTX 406 열차가 곧 출발합니다.
저기요, 이상한 사람이 하나 타고 있는 것 같은데.
팀장님, 여기 11호차 응급 환자 발생했습니다.
I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure.
Busan.
This is a Korean film, so prepare for me to mispronounce a lot of stuff right now. So yeah, this is a Korean crack at a zombie film, and I believe Patience. Since this was your pick, if you'd like to run down a brief synopsis of the movie, and then we can get into the review.
Basically, it's the tale of a man who is a single father, who is taking his daughter on her birthday to see her mother, begrudgingly, in Busan. And as they leave and get on the train, the zombie apocalypse breaks out, and it breaks out on the train, of course. And hijinks happen. We laugh, we cry, we get at people that we hate. There's some characters in here that are like absolutely deplorable, and then there's some great characters that we love as well. So overall, yeah, it's just your typical, zombies on a train film, I guess. Is that typical?
There's a couple other movies that have done it. I'm going to be straight up. Oh yeah, there was that one. I'm going to be straight up. For zombies in a confined space, this might actually be the best zombie on a train or / locomotive of any kind that I've actually ever seen.
Because there's just so many examples, of course, but
Justin, you know not what you say. You know not what Pandora's box that you owe.
Boy.
There are quite a bit of films. Need I remind you of Wormwood Road to the Dead?
I think there were quite a few, there weren't enough trains in Wormwood to really...
Is that what it was missing? Is that Australians don't have enough trains?
Apparently. That movie was alright. I'm kind of burnt out on zombie films right now, so I was really pleased with this film, and especially its zombies overall.
Yeah, and as far as the film goes... I guess I don't really have much to say about, because its premise is pretty standard. It's, the storyline, it's not like it's doing anything new. I'm just really impressed with the technical quality and just how solid the filmmaking is here. Which I guess, I don't know, maybe you guys don't feel the same way, but I guess I've been so used to just kind of zombie films kind of phoning it in a cinematography and writing way that I found this film very refreshing just for how tense certain sequences were, how well certain things were shot, and how just kind of scared I actually was of zombies again, which was like, holy shit, I'm actually very sympathetic with these characters that I actually genuinely like, which Justin, what was that?
Oh, I was just going to add to that. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that what this film lacks in originality per se, because basically what I thought throughout this film was it's Snowpiercer crossed with World War Z. It's got that same claustrophobic moving across the train cars thing with the World War Z type of infection zombies. They're not cannibals, they're not tearing people limb from limb, they're kind of just, a virus being spread. But in terms of actual production of this film, because the guy who made this, again, pronunciations, we don't really speak Korean here, his name is Yeon Sang-ho, or Sang-ho Yeon, however you pronounce it, which way. But, from what it looks like, he mostly does animation and animated horror shorts and feature-length films. So for him to have such a control of the actual, camera work and the editing and that stuff in this, it's really tense. It's really, really good. I was floored. We're watching good movies on this show for once.
Yeah! Yes. Believe it or not, this is actually his first live-action film.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, he only did a couple of animated shorts. And there is a animated prequel to this film I have not seen that I kind of want to see. I believe it's called Soul Station. I think that would be kind of fun to take a gander at, because obviously he really knows what he's doing CGI-wise. He does have that eye. And for me, the zombies are my favorite part because they're kind of like you said, they're like World War Z zombies, but for me, they're a lot more like angrier. Like if the Rage zombies, the Rage zombies and the World War Z zombies had a zombie baby, that would be like these zombies.
So much fury in one tiny little ball.
They had the zombie baby from the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, jeez. You know what? That thought crossed my mind when they introduced the pregnant woman in this movie. I'm like, please don't let there be a zombie baby in this.
I'm like, I wasn't the first one to think. I'm like, oh boy. Yeah, and to Patience's point, I love the CGI work in here where they keep it pretty slim until we get to big sequences of, like, train cars kind of flipping and
the
zombies.
Scenes.
Yeah, well, and then even in the train cars, zombies like pile up onto each other to where they are like climbing over one another, like almost like salmon, kind of going over and over and over each other. And I was just like, wow, that looks really cool. I mean, I can tell it's CG, but it's really fast, and it's used to the effect of making them seem like a wave, this force, which I thought was really cool. As far as the acting, normally for foreign films, I have a hard time judging the acting just because of the language disconnect and I have to read at the bottom. But for this one, I'm like, man, even with the language barrier, I can tell these actors are really putting some serious work into their performances. I especially like the husband of the pregnant woman. I forget his name in the film. I think it's Sang-hwa.
Yeah, his name's Sang-hwa.
Yeah, the actor is Ma Dong-seok, who is actually the personal trainer of the main actor. Yeah, he was actually the personal trainer, which I was just like, really? Because I only remember him as Joey McBadass, because this guy, man, did I like this guy. He was like my favorite character for most of this film. He was so fucking cool.
Which is funny because I felt like, compared to everyone else, he wasn't the best actor, but he had the most likable character of everybody. Where it's like, yeah, he doesn't emote terribly well, because his usual expression is kind of that, sly, smug look, just like, yeah, you're kind of a dick. Hey, it's my wife. Oh look, we're having a baby, kind of thing. But when it came to actually expressing his character through, they did a good job, like, showing his emotions through his actions. And I think that really helped a lot to make him likable as a performer.
My favorite part is, he kind of calls out the main character a little bit and just starts calling him an asshole the whole entire time. And it's kind of like, they're in their situation where he's like holding the door and there's all these zombies coming. He's like, asshole, can you come over here, please? And he's just like so nonchalant, but, tells it like it is.
Yeah, because the first time these characters interact is actually he's trying to escape the zombies on the train. And our main character shuts the fucking door in a pregnant woman's face. And I was like, damn, that is some cold shit. But I kind of like it later because he kind of doesn't back away from it. He's like, look, I had my kid to think about. I reacted in the heat of the moment. And I fucked up, and I'm kind of like, I don't think I don't think he ever even says sorry about it, but, I kind of like that our main character was just like, nope, I'm gonna close this door, and fuck you. So yeah, I guess I would call that, if that's how I met a person, I would refer to them as asshole probably from then on.
Yeah, no, it felt like that there was a lot unspoken for this film, which I gotta say to its credit that there's not a lot of time wasted with wordy dialogue and exposition in the story. Like, there's a few chunks here and there and a few, like, heavy-handed expository moments, but most of the time, those moments when you think they say stuff like, I love you, I know, it's kind of stuff like that, they communicated it well enough through the actual actions, and I think that helped the writing on the whole throughout the film.
Well, even before the zombie thing starts, we see the dad, our main character, looking at a film of his daughter's recital, and watching the daughter kind of look around in the audience and not finish her song. And it was just like, it's not him, there is plenty of dialogue between other characters. It's like, you're not with your kid enough and that sort of thing. But that visual representation of just him watching his daughter look for him and realize that he's not there, and his facial reaction after that, I was like, yeah, this is basically everything I need to know shorthand about this character and where his head is at, which is very, very impressive. I don't recognize this main actor from a lot of other stuff, but I haven't watched a lot of Korean cinema, but yeah, Gang Yoo, I found him very impressive acting wise.
For me, I thought that it was all stolen away by the young girl, Kim Soo-won.
Oh,
I'm usually not really into, child actors are like, okay,
they're usually terrible.
Yeah, exactly. But man, she was so good in this film, and especially that end scene. She really does, she knows what she's doing. I'm excited to see what she does in the future.
She can really put on the waterworks throughout this film. She has a lot of emotional range.
We'll get to it in the spoiler section, but that end scene, wow. I have not, cried at a zombie film. I don't think ever, but I was seriously, I was kind of tearing. I was just like, damn, this feels real.
I was surprised because I'm usually pretty stoic, stone-faced as well in these movies, and I'm like, what's this? My eyes are getting a little moist. Oh, that's unusual.
What is the salty discharge?
Right now. Ninjas throwing dust around.
Yeah. Someone's cutting an onion off screen. I can't tell. I don't see them.
They were manly tears, though. But yeah, I found her very impressive. I don't know, maybe ever since I saw Logan with the girl that played X-23 and Beast of No Nation, the young kid in that, I was just like, man, there's some really, really good child actors up and coming, and it's starting to feel
like from Room and all those people.
It's starting to feel like that's more on the regular rather than just an outlier every once in a while. So I'm very much appreciative of that. We also get some other fodder.
Zombie food.
Yeah, there's the two older women that seem to have a story arc that kind of gets forgotten. I felt like they would have a bigger role, and then it's just kind of it's put on hold for so long that I forgot they were in the movie at one point. Well, you get a sense of that one of them is taking care of the other, although it's not even clear. Is it okay? Are they sisters? Are they friends? Are they, I don't know, live-in,
lovers?
Just lover? Yeah, lovers. What's going on here?
Yeah. They're sisters. They have the same last name, I think. They're Engil and Jonggil.
Oh, okay.
She actually calls her sister, near the end, too, so.
Well, in Korea,
that's right.
They have a lot of, relative terms of endearment, the little girl calls them granny and stuff a lot. So I can see how it would be really super confusing, to figure out, are you related? Because they call their elders uncle and stuff. Which I just totally made that up right now.
You're supposed to be the educated one on this.
I'm pretty sure it's true though.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we have the baseball team and their cheerleader, which, okay, the cheerleader comes on, and it is a weird fucking scene because she pops on, comes to this dude just sitting right next to him, is like, hey baby, kind of starts leaning up on him, kissing him, could you please sit somewhere else? And he's just like, I've chosen you, so accept your fate. And then everyone starts chanting, accept your fate, accept your fate. And I'm kind of like, what the fuck is this?
Dude, this feels harassment.
I'm almost wanted him to cut to the camera and be like, this is sexual harassment and I don't have to take it. Because all I can think is, if these roles were reversed, if it was like a bunch of like, if it was a girl being chanted like, accept your fate, I'm like, this feels fucking weird. Like, what? I can only assume that they must have broken up recently or something, or they had a connection and he, is not very, like, into her, but like, in a stressful situation, he becomes into her later, apparently.
At one point, they get separated and they call each other and they're like bawling like babies. And he's just like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I'm sorry. So I don't know what their relationship was. I was confused by that part as well.
It was a weird, casual, flirtatious thing. I mean, I kind of understood it at some points. I mean, and I felt the crying was more just the stress of the fact that we see later in the film that literally every one of their friends dies except for the two of them. So it's like, that at least has some context, but there's some stuff near the end of their story that doesn't make as much sense in context either. So.
Yeah. It's just a weird first scene.
They're basically there to give you some connection to like, oh, these are people I at least know, so when they get eaten, I know that it's counting down to the people I actually really care about.
Yeah.
But as far as the cinematography of this film, because I did want to talk about it for a minute, just filming inside this tight location with zombies, and of course, like, I don't know about you guys, but my favorite scene has got to be the gear up, we're gonna go fight our way through these fucking zombies to get...
the very World War Z scene.
Yeah, I was about to talk about that scene too. I love that part.
So, yeah, for those of you who have not seen the film, I highly suggest you do, but just in case you need convincing, there's a scene where the three dudes, are gonna go get basically their women, basically, and one guy tapes up his arms, so that he doesn't get bit, the other guy grabs his baseball bat, the other guy grabs a riot shield, and it's like, basically like they realize like, oh, wait a minute. We're Koreans in a confined space. Let's go old boy on these fuckers. And the camera like spins around in like, there's like really some longer shots in this when they basically make their break in between these cars. And it is a fucking tense scene. And then of course our the husband of the pregnant wife, my guy, my badass, he's taking out zombies left and right. He's lifting them up. He's hitting them on the ceilings of the fucking train car. They're going off. They're like saving each other. They're going back to back. And I'm just like, fuck yeah. I actually raised my fist in the air when they actually got to the end of that first train car. I was like, fuck yeah. I don't know, I just really appreciated that scene. Like, what do you guys think of it?
I thought it was a good scene, although it does lean to one sort of complaint I have in the movie where it's never made clear how to fight a zombie properly in the story. Like, they list the limitations, like, the zombies don't react if they don't see people. You know, they react to sound, you know, typical zombie tropes. But no one ever kills a zombie, no one ever actually inflicts serious damage on a zombie. It's kind of, it mitigates some of the tension when it's not clear how to defeat an enemy in the story, for me at least. What do you think, Patience?
I will agree with that sentiment. This is actually one of my favorite scenes, so I do agree with Nick again. But I just thought it was just like that badass moment where, you know, we have the badass guy, the baseball player, and the dad, and they're like finally teaming up to do something constructive and to, like, yeah, like you said, go get their girls. So I liked this part, but I will agree with Justin as well, whereas, I mean, we don't get, like, that horde moment where they're just using, you know, like, where they're definitively killing zombies with toilets and stuff. Like, we don't really get that. They're just kind of stunning them.
Yeah, they're just tossing them, like Nick said, they're just tossing them into the ceiling, they're just knocking them into the chairs. It's tough, it's cool. I mean, that dude has got some superhuman strength on him to lift zombies like that the way he does. But yeah, there's no real sense of accomplishment where it's like they're not actually causing damage to these guys. I mean, it's a weirdly non-violent and violent zombie film in some ways.
Well, I think the sense of accomplishment just comes from the fact that it's just gaining ground and going through. I feel like these zombies are made to be more indestructible than regular zombies. The fact that you really have a hard time, like, if they are killable, it takes a lot to fucking kill them. But with that scene as well, it also does another thing that I actually really like this film for, is that it introduces the zombies in the dark. They have a hard time seeing, so they rely more on sound. And that way the characters can use that to their advantage and kind of work their way around the zombies in a smarter way. So it's like it gives me both. It gives me the badass, like, let's go fuck them up sequence, but leads into the, okay, let's be smart about this and be really actively clever about our problem solving, which I really like in movies, because horror movies, like, me and Patience just reviewed 47 Meters Down before, and one of the problems I had in that movie was that I didn't feel like the characters made enough smart decisions where, like, they're really trying to actively get out of their situation. And this one, it felt like, okay, or at least our main characters, it feels like they're really being smart and really trying to use their wits and will to do everything possible to get out of this scenario. With the exception of a couple other characters that keep, like, none of our main characters make dumb decisions, but there's like, some other characters that are like, oh my god, why is that person not dead right now?
Yeah, well, there's one guy in particular that they, he starts off somewhat the reasonable, like, other side of the coin thing, where it's like, well, here's the logical side and here's the emotional side. But then he kind of progressively becomes more and more the bad guy of the story, which made him more and more irrational with his decision-making, too. And I guess just from a narrative standpoint, it made me kind of frustrated. Like, okay, we're supposed to hate this guy, but I kind of hate him more because he's become less of a character throughout the story afterwards.
Yeah, and that character is Yeon Suk, who is played by Eun Sung Kim. And he goes from kind of a dick to completely insufferable to cartoonish by the end.
Yeah, he's the true villain of the film when it comes down to it, I think. I hate that guy.
Me too.
But back to the zombies, what you were saying about how they use, like, sight and sound as a way to sort of fend themselves off from the zombies, I thought was very clever. But that was also one of the things that I kind of didn't like about the movie, was that, okay, so they have super sight, because at one point they just put newspaper over the subway doors to keep the zombies from, like, trying to eat them. Yeah, and then, of course, they have, like, they use the hearing, but apparently, like, smell isn't a factor, Mm-hmm. Like, I just felt like that there was some sort of, like, dissonance there for me.
Yeah, no, and also it led to one of the scenes I kind of unintentionally laughed at when they're getting attacked at the train station, and the way the main character, the dad, gets pinned down by a zombie, and he's, holding him off with a book in his mouth, which kind of made me laugh, but the way they got the zombie to stop attacking him is that the homeless guy threw a jacket over the zombie's face. He's just like, I almost imagine like a parakeet when you just put a little shade, like a little cover over the thing, and just like, no one's here anymore. I guess I should just stop.
Oh my god, a light garment. My one weakness. How did you know?
How dare did you know that, Cotton?
It was interesting, but at the same time, it ended up being comical, a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, we didn't even mention the homeless guy that comes onto the train and basically fails to warn everybody about the fucking zombie apocalypse.
Well, he does say they're all dead. They're all dead.
Right.
Just rambling. And also even worse is the fact that someone saw the person who caused the outbreak get on and saw that they were bleeding, but just went, I guess it's just another passenger. All right, we're all good to go.
Well, they immediately find the homeless guy in the bathroom, because it's like, oh, there's some guy in the bathroom and he's causing a big ruckus or whatever. But it takes them forever to find the bleeding, stuck, bitten woman that's having seizures in the fucking train car. I'm just like,
seriously.
Like, okay, who's the staff here? Who is on this? Because it feels like you take way too long to find this chick.
They were too busy straightening their scarves.
But and also the fact that she walks through train cars, like, convulsing like crazy, and the passengers they're just going about their business. They're way too focused on getting to work on time, apparently, because no one notices this lady just going, right next to them like that. It's just, it was kind of dumb.
Those dang kids and their thriller flash mobs. Ugh. Fuck them.
Oh my gosh, if they had believed that, like there was like, oh, hey, we're getting ready, get your cameras out, that would have been hilarious.
But yeah, that led into another scene where it's like the first where she turns and she bites the attendant. and the sound is actually very low when she's biting the attendant when she first comes out. And everyone's kind of like looking like, what the fuck? I thought that was very disturbing, actually. I was like, oh man, that's kind of neat. Normally this would be accompanied by really loud, biting noises or like screaming and stuff like that. But it's actually like whimpers from the attendant and like maybe a little gnawing sound. And I found like, oh, that's different. Actually, I find that very disturbing, actually. But then it kind of, once the screaming starts, it really starts.
You make it sound like he's just having a light snack on there, just like, good hand, or something like that. Just like,
That's pretzels.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, I really like the character development in this film too, because the dad, even in the moment when they finally meet up with the everyone trapped in the washroom, they have to kind of hide out until the next tunnel gets there, and our main character and our I'm just gonna call him McBadass, and McBadass, because I can't keep going to IMDb to look up that guy's name.
Yeah, he's the most Scottish Korean, McBadass. Yeah.
He is. I thought he wore
the chair, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So McBadass like gives him a speech like, hey, I bet you don't get to spend enough time with your kid. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Here's the speech where it's like, you should spend more time with your kid because, you only get so much time, and like, what's money really worth anyway? And I always hate speeches like that because it's like,
yeah,
dude, he's working hard. He's doing the thing he's supposed to do. He's providing. And look, I don't know what happened with his relationship with his ex-wife, but he is trying with being a dad. I mean, and
he's a fund manager. That's a high stress job.
Yeah, but then it's instead of zigging, it zags, and the McBadass is like, she'll understand later why you worked so much and why you had to do that stuff for her. Dads, we get the shit end. We do most of the work, and we don't get half of the credit. And just because we're not there as much, and I'm just like, oh man, they actually went the other way with it, and let the dad know, it's like, hey, you know what, no one's perfect, but you're doing the best you can, which was cool from a guy that was like, that was really nice of you to say. From since the first time I met you, I closed the door in your pregnant wife's face.
Yeah. No, we get that scene, but we also get the speech with the conductors and the little girl when they meet the homeless man, and he's like, oh yeah, make sure you don't grow up like him. Stay in school. And he's like, but, I hear that people who say that are jerks. My mom told me that. And he's like, oh yeah, she probably didn't graduate. I'm just like, jeez, what a dick.
Yeah, that was an asshole.
That's the other lesson we learned from this story.
Apparently. I really felt like the arc was it really was a redemption story for the dad. He starts out being this, the typical absentee father who gives her the same birthday present that he got her before, and like doesn't even, is just so disconnected from his daughter, feels guilty about it, decides to take her to see her mother on her birthday. And then he goes from being like this deadbeat dad kind of who just basically works too hard to like, I am the father of the year. It's really like, a story of him. At one point he tells, the daughter tells one of the older sisters, the grannies, to sit down in the chair that she was sitting in. And he's like, why did you do that? And she's just like, what are you talking about? And he's like, at a time like this, only watch out for yourself. And then that slowly, you can see him sort of change that mindset slowly as he develops relationships with the other characters and starts to be like, okay, we're in this together. We all need to look out for each other.
Well, his daughter even changes him over the course of the movie as he spends more time with her, because Patience is 100% correct. He has that moment of just like, no, in a stressful situation, you look up for you and no one else, because fuck everybody else. He is a selfish prick at a lot of moments in this film, and he slowly starts to get to the point where he starts helping out other characters because he wants to be the dad that his daughter, like he thinks his daughter deserves. And I love the scene where the daughter tells him like, you know what, you only care about yourself. You are such a selfish asshole. That's why mom left. And I was like, fuck, that's a little too real, man. I mean, I couldn't get away with saying that to my dad, but I don't know, maybe they don't discipline the same way as they do in Wisconsin.
Back in my day.
You young whippersnapper, you get over here.
Wait, why did your dad sound like Sean Connery there? You young whippersnapper.
I was going more little old man, but he did have a lovely Scottish accent. You didn't.
Oh yeah, that was McBadass in this movie. He would have been played by Sean Connery.
You didn't know my dad was that badass, did you? But yeah, I really enjoyed the character arc of our main guy and just him learning, like, you know what, it is worth it to care for other people because otherwise, like, what's the point? Am I going to turn into what's his name by the end of it? The evil tycoon.
Yep, and Young Suk.
Young Suk. Yeah.
And he does suck.
He does Young Suk.
Well, it feels like it's the inverse of other zombie movies. You know, like if this was Walking Dead, you'd have to learn the survival story. Like, no, you have to take care of yourself. You have to be self-focused because the other people will slow you down. So it was refreshing to see a movie that was slightly more optimistic in tone in comparison.
Although he could have, he didn't have to label his ex-wife in the phone ex-wife. I did notice that in the subtitle where it was just like ex-wife, and I'm like, wow, really? You couldn't just have her name? You had a name. I'm just surprised it just didn't read that bitch on the phone. But you know, whatever.
Well, and also, we'll get into this later in the spoiler discussion, but there's at least one major decision that he could have made near the end that I think would have drastically changed the ending in his arc, but I'll save that thought, see if you guys agree with me on that.
Yeah. But speaking of spoiler sections, we should wrap up this part of the review here and just go into our ratings, and then we will come back after a musical break and come back with the spoiler section. But Patience, this was your pick, and I'm really intrigued to see how you would finally rate this film.
Well, this was, like I said, this was definitely one of our top films, the Deliberations of Doom's top films of 2016. And I'm really, I've been burnt out on zombie films for quite some time now, but this and Girl with All the Gifts, I think, really sort of redeemed the zombie genre for me. I felt like this was a movie not about zombies, but about, hey, who are you in the face of a traumatic incident? Like, who are you going to be? Are you going to be the asshole that remains an asshole that throws people under the train? Or are you going to redeem yourself, so to speak? Are you going to be the good person in the end? So I give this 8.5 zombies falling out of helicopters out of 10.
Ooh, I love that scene. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Right out of Stakeland, if you guys have ever seen that movie, where they throw vampires off the helicopters. But Justin, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect, because I've had lots of friends telling me, go see Train to Busan. Train to Busan's so great. Oh, it's amazing. And I always kind of had this like, yeah, another zombie movie. I'm sure it's great kind of thing. But it does go to that point that Patience is alluding to, that if you make a good movie or a good story, any story can work. Even a story that's overdone or overexposed, you can make good content out of it. And I feel like that's what we got in this case. And I mean, it does definitely feel like it's an animator's work sometimes, because it feels like the movie is very storyboarded in certain cases, with the more visual cues than dialogue. Some of the show-offy scenes, they were a little much too, like Nick was alluding to, the train slipping over and the big climactic stuff near the end. It would have maybe not been so bad if the CG was better, which it was fine. It was passable. I mean, you guys agree with that as well? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that it was definitely, you could definitely tell it was CG, but it was used sparingly and very fast. So I thought it was well utilized on the small budget they probably had.
Yeah, and it does help that it's more focused on character, because that's what makes all great horror movies, zombie movies, whatever work. If you care about who makes it at the end. And this movie will definitely push you to the limit on that, knowing I don't know if anyone's going to make it out of this alive in a few cases. But I felt it was fun, it was entertaining, it was unintentionally funny at points in ways that didn't help the film, but it never derailed it completely. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be near Patience rating here by saying it's an 8 out of 10, army crawling through the luggage, areas above the train car.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that part too.
That was great.
That was pretty cool. It reminded me like a lot of a scene out of Resident Evil, but,
also though, just gotta say, that freaking soda can, man. That was the one thing.
I knew that's what you were talking about.
I wanted an ad to pop up right then to go like, please keep the train car clean and recycle when possible.
That would have been awesome.
Only you can prevent zombie outbreaks. But I really, really enjoyed this film just from a solid filmmaking perspective, in a way that, I enjoyed Wormwood Road of the Dead in a working for the weekend kind of like maybe 12 guys made that movie in their backyards, for like very low budget, and I could see all the effort go into it. This one felt more like...
Which, as you proved, that was the case. So.
Yeah, which I'm like, yeah, and that has its place too, but this one is very much like, oh wow, a professional crew really worked on this and really ironed out everything. I thought it runs a little long, like it's 2 hours, and I felt like we could probably knocked off 10-15 minutes easy. But
I think it was around the middle where it really sagged, like when they were getting off that first train station. I think that could have been tightened up a bit, personally.
Yeah. Well, for that you could have cut 5-10 minutes here or there. I mean, with how the old woman's like the old couple, like old sisters story arc comes out, I'm like, I probably would have just cut that. And it doesn't seem to come to very much. But I thought that the action was really tight. It really felt like this was a very much an apocalypse going on everywhere, and this was only a small slice of what was really happening. I thought that it had that really neat feeling. I thought the zombie effects in this were very freaky. Like, I liked the cloudy contacts. I liked how like scary they looked. I liked the ant, climbing over each other, World War Z mentality. The character work in this was very good. I think the only slight thing I have is that the only slight complaint I have is just that the main bad guy, Young Suk, he has one too many like evil Snidely Whiplash, like he didn't tie the pregnant woman to a train rack, to the train rail, but I felt like if he was around for another 5 minutes, he would have gotten there. Like,
pretty much.
Cause he, oh man, we'll save it for the spoiler section, but he, like, goddamn, that guy.
He directly causes some bad stuff to happen by his own actions.
He is
responsible.
I want to go back and see what his kill count is at versus some of the other zombies and see how he comes out.
He murdered more people than the apocalypse did.
God, this fucking guy. But yeah, overall, I think if you are into zombie films at all, like even if you're a little burnt out, I would say this is probably going to revitalize you a little bit. So I give it a solid 4 zombie rat tails off of trains out of 5.
Also, apparently, zombie deer is a thing in this movie.
I know, that was
I really thought that was going to pay off later.
Yeah, did you expect like there'd be some time, like maybe a zombie dog or a zombie cat somewhere else? It's like, nope, that was it.
Well, I want that zombie deer to fight the zombie deer from Slither, and then have Nathan Fillion show up at the end of it, just like, wow, that was fucked up.
Nathan Fillion in the middle of South Korea is like, yeah, I was just filming a movie here, and then the apocalypse happened. What's going on?
Always appropriate. Nathan Fillion is always appropriate.
I would have very much appreciated that. Like if Nathan Fillion would have just crashed down and been like, okay, Reavers are on oh, you guys are dealing with zombies too. Oh, that's nice. But with that, we're going to go into the spoiler section. But first, I want to make sure that everyone can find you guys at your social media pages. And I know, Patience, you are on Deliberations of Doom, if you would like to pimp that for a minute.
Yes, Deliberations of Doom on oneofus.net. And unlike what Justin said on your Road to El Dorado podcast last time, Deliberations of Doom is clearly the superior podcast on oneofus.net and not Breakfast Pub. So just shade has been thrown, people. No,
I see someone who's not coming back as a guest on the Breakfast Pub.
Oh, I did guest host Breakfast Pub. That's right. I forgot about that. Great podcast, everybody. So yeah, Deliberations of Doom, where we stick to horror movies. It's me, Chris Cox, and 3 lovely filmmakers, Philip Guzman and the Summers Brothers. And we just talk about horror films, and sometimes we drink whiskey. So, yeah, well, okay, we always drink whiskey. I don't know.
But sometimes on the show.
Right, but you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at prof.patience.
Awesome. How about you, Justin?
Alrighty, well, apparently you could listen to that really cool Deliberations of Doom podcast if you really want to, if you're a horror fanboy or fangirl. But if you're a cool person, you can listen to The Breakfast Pub, which I write all the notes for and have done dutifully so for the last 2 years. No, but in all seriousness, check out all the content on oneofus.net. We have Digital Noise, we have our reviews, we have lots of great stuff on there. Chris Cox works his butt off to do that stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. So subscribe, become a member, whatever it takes. Otherwise, if you want to contact, sorry.
I think it's like $2.
Yeah, literally, it will cost you nothing. Just $2 a month. You can either buy that soda or subscribe to oneofus.net and get hours and hours of content. That'll matter to you more. But otherwise, you can find me on Facebook. Justin Zarian. You will, once in a blue moon, find me on Twitter, usually linked to posts for this podcast. And yes, you can check up on our previous reviews here on Unapologetic Geek Out. Hey, I said it without stuttering. Hooray!
Yay, a true unapologist in the making. I like it. And yes, with that, you can always find our stuff on any of our back catalog on iTunes at UGO Podcast. Give us a 5-star review, would really help us out. If you do, I'll read whatever goes in that review box on the air, word for word. If you would like to just put in, I don't know, the IMDb page of the actors in this film and watch me horribly mispronounce their names, I'll do that because it's crazy. There's so many thungs and yucks and fucking vowels. But you can also follow us at Twitter at UGO Podcast. Like us on Facebook. Our Instagram's also at UGO Podcast. Check out some of our con pictures. And of course, if you just want to check out our previous Netflix and Kills and our regular episodes of the UGO Podcast or movie reviews, you can do so at our webpage, unapologeticgeekout.com. And of course, if you want to see more me and Patience's antics, you can always check out our movie commentary, Deep Blue Sea, I want to mention again, at the subscriber level at oneofus.net. Or if you want a free commentary, you can go to the We Are Error guys, who we just did a commentary for Mortal Kombat, which I also drank during. Which was slightly less inebriated because we only drank every time they yelled out Mortal Kombat. But with that, I think we can wrap this section up, and we'll be right back after this musical break. Welcome back to the spoiler section for Netflix and Kill.
No, Guest Flicks and Kill.
Guest Flicks and Kill. Thank you for correcting me, Justin. Never do that again. Know your place.
Okay, I'll leave.
And yes, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the spoilerific stuff for this film. Again, I really highly recommend you go watch this film. So you have been warned. If you have not watched the film yet, we are going to spoil the shit out of it. So with that, should we just talk about the ending a little bit?
Oh my god.
How do you guys feel about the third act of this film overall?
Well, where should we begin? I mean, where would you say is a good cutoff point for where the third act really starts?
I would say where the old woman's storyline kind of wraps up, where she sees her sister get trampled on by zombies because they get kicked off because they might be infected. Which,
in the least convincing argument ever, just like, look at his eyes! Oh, he's clearly infected! Make him go away!
Yeah.
You mean how his eyes are clearly not white? And then I didn't if there's one thing I didn't like was that the dad hardly puts any fight about it. He's just like, alright. I'm like, dude, raise up your arms, like, take your shirt off, like, show, like, look, I'm not fucking bit anywhere. I'm acting rationally. Like, I got my fucking kid here. I feel like he would do anything he could have to, to save his kid. But, it does lead to a tense scene where the woman basically just opens the door to punish all the people that just kicked out, the guys that just got in. But they managed to miss the two people that were the most directly responsible for her sister's death.
Yeah, that kind of made me a little bit frustrated with the ending too. We're just like, seriously, how did these two guys who were in the middle of the crowd make it out while all the other people died?
Well,
for me personally, sorry to interrupt,
No, go
but
ahead.
I was just say when the evil guy Young Suk, is kicking, he's infected. I feel like that was the moment that the dad really had like the realization of what kind of person he had been and what kind of person he was becoming. And I feel like that's why he didn't do anything, because he was just like, holy shit, this could have been me at one point,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess I do feel that. And then I did feel like the old woman's storyline, like, oh, this is why this is here, so that there's an
Right.
excuse to open the door later,
And
which is
kill
weird.
everybody.
But then the people they locked down the door that just had the survivors in it that were clearly not infected, that they kicked off, but they didn't tie down the fucking one with a shit ton of zombies next to it. That was a weird priority shift. But yeah, we finally get to the train station, and it's all fucked up. They gotta jump onto another train. The conductor gets off to try and, find another train to get up and running. Everyone else kind of gets off and tries to, zip off and hide and see if they can't, get to the other train or get to a safe location. And then our Yun-suk, our villain, decides to partake in a long sequence of feeding the survivors to zombies, which happens not once, not twice, but 3 times.
3, yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so did he actually have a plan other than just make people's lives miserable until he found a train? It just seemed like he just kind of aimlessly wandered into other storylines to kill off characters in the ending.
I just wanted him to pop into into other zombie stories, like into Dawn of the Dead, just like, I'll get it, and then taking that one and then throwing Ving Rhames to the zombies, then he'd pop over to The Walking Dead and throw Rick into the group of zombies. It felt like it was a never end. I felt like that guy was gonna be the last person alive on Earth until there was no more people to feed to the fucking zombies.
Oh, I would have been so pissed if that happened.
Oh, hey guys, I'm in 28 Days Later. Screw you, Cillian Murphy.
Fuck you. Fucking scarecrow looking motherfucker.
Which, to be fair, I mean, if you want to make a comparison, you can say his character is kind of like the guy from the beginning of 28 Weeks Later. The guy who just kind of selfishly abandons everybody just to save himself. I saw that kind of parallel.
That was more of a passive-aggressive way to do it. This guy is literally throwing young girls in the paths of zombies, though.
True.
Like, he's literally like, oh, yeah, screw you, attendant. I didn't want your peanuts. Here, have a zombie.
But then,
Yeah, screw you, guy who's driving the train. We don't need you.
Exactly, right?
this is for not serving my complimentary alcohol. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. Even so. And then he throws the conductor, which is just like, dude, you need that guy. You can't drive the fucking train.
But
which apparently
he could. He could
yeah,
totally.
apparently he could, yeah.
Even in a zombie state of mind.
But yeah, then he throws the young girl, and I was just like, for real, dude? And I thought that was kind of funny. And then the homeless guy, who I keep forgetting is in the film until he pops in to the scene, it was just like,
the homeless guy doesn't have a character really. He just kind of pops up to do stuff every now and then.
well, I thought he would be like our portrayal of like, oh, he was the one that no one believed because he was a homeless guy. And then I don't know, he just kind of, I mean, he's around. I mean, and he does stuff, but he somehow doesn't feel very necessary. I mean,
he was there for the moment where he dies,
Yeah, his sacrificial scene is actually probably the most terrifying moment of the movie for me, because they're stuck underneath this leaning, train car that's going to squash them any minute, and it's full of zombies just looking at them and banging on the windows. And it's just, to me, that was just like super claustrophobic, and that actually got me a little bit.
Oh yeah, when the windows break and the zombies flood down, I was like, that was a cool fucking shot. I really like that. And yeah, the our hero and the pregnant woman and his daughter are the only ones that are left, because McBadass had to sacrifice himself as well. There's a lot of sacrificial deaths in this film, but his takes the cake, where he's just like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna body check these zombies to give you enough time to get into the fucking the train car, which was pretty cool. He names his kid right before he dies, so that was nice. I would have been like, name her Clementine. It's like, so The Walking Dead's already got that. Shit! Well, I guess Sun Yun is
My
fine.
real name is Lee.
Its name is Rosebud.
Rosebud. But yeah, I really liked our main character's journey, and he finally gets his face off with Sun Yuk, which I was just like, oh, okay, well, while he's still like a human, throw him off the fucking train. And it's like,
that's what I thought. Like, the whole thing could have been avoided. Just throw him off the train. You know he's gonna turn. Throw him off the train. That was the one thing that could have stopped. That would have changed the whole ending. Just,
McBadass wouldn't have had a problem with it. He would have taken care of that shit.
Yeah.
Which also points out the inconsistency of how long it takes for people to turn into zombies, because some of them are instantaneous, but then that guy's got like a prolonged, like minute-long turn sequence.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it the point when you realize you're infected that you turn into a zombie? Because that's what it seemed like. It's like, oh, I'm bitten. Rah!
Well, from what I know about zombie films, neck bites make you turn immediately. Neck bites are bad. But hand bites are like, yeah, you're cool. Like anything extremity, you're probably good for like an hour or so.
The one thing that really bothered me about the whole Sun Yuk turning into a zombie thing was we didn't get to see it. And that's what because we didn't get the satisfaction of seeing him get bitten. Especially after he was such a bad guy.
Well, they implied it during the bit when he threw the conductor on the rails, pretty much. But, it's very vague and unclear because they didn't really show anything happening there.
I wanted to see him suffer.
Right. When the zombies are like attaching themselves on the back of the train, I kind of wanted I wanted him to like fall off and then like get it trampled by just the zombies that are like hanging off the side there and get like torn apart.
I almost thought they were gonna like show them like weighing down the train. I was like, wait, are they that heavy that they're gonna slow this whole thing down?
And so yeah, we are dead. He gets bitten in the struggle, and as I'm like, oh, that felt weird. I'm not sure if that was necessary, but it does lead to this tearful goodbye between him and the daughter that I feel like really works and really sells the last 10 minutes of this film, where the acting between him and the little girl is probably at its best in this moment. And this is the point where the waterworks did start to happen to me a little bit. I was just like, no. And I did like his last thoughts of his daughter being born and the smile and just the shot of his silhouette falling off the back. I was like, this was pretty good. Like I might not have agreed with the way it got here, but the final destination for this was pretty good. I don't know. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, no, I responded to it emotionally more than logically, because, again, it was that whole thing of, throw that guy off the train, none of this would have happened. But at least they at least attempted to sell me well on the way it ended, and it worked on the most part.
As anyone on Deliberations of Doom knows, I have a cold-ass heart. Like, seriously. It's dark as hell, and they can all attest to that fact. But, man, that last goodbye with the daughter and her, like, screaming... I have to admit that I didn't get teary-eyed, but I definitely felt like something. I felt a stirring somewhere in my chest.
Your CPU was trying to process that that human emotion known as empathy into your
right.
RAM. No, that's good. That's good. And then, of course, we get the traditional, like, okay, is this going to be the bleak zombie ending, or is this going to be the more hopeful zombie ending? And they kind of give you two of them, where it's like, hey, we got two bogeys coming in. Well, like can you tell if they're infected? Can't tell. We'll kill them. I was like, damn. Okay.
Better to be safe. Sorry, Nick. Jeez.
But you know what? I did like that she does finish the song in the tunnel, and that's what saves him. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I'm just like, God damn it. This should be cheesy, and like, it shouldn't work. But God damn it, I actually really like this.
Yeah, it worked.
I mean, it is like, when I think about it logically, I'm like, this should feel on the nose of her finally finishing the song, but I don't know, like, wrapped up in the moment. Plus, that girl, like, she is just such a good actress that she's selling it by that point. That I'm just like, no, I actually really dig this ending here. I don't know, Justin, you got human emotions, right? What did you think?
I am a human, yes, and I felt very human emotions in this ending. But yeah, I think it did get to that point where I was a little frustrated, like, oh great, are they going to do the bleak ending where they shoot the pregnant woman in the head kind of thing? But I was glad, at that point, I think I was just more relieved that it didn't go that route, that I was able to forgive that song ending. It was like, yeah, it is cheesy, and isn't that one of those the traditional Hawaiian songs that they're singing in Korean or something like that?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I recognize that tune. But at that point, like, at least it ended on a note of optimism, which I kind of prefer over the complete pitch black ending for these kind of movies.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that I hate the optimistic ending because I think it's just so overused and it's just like always shoved down your throat. But this one I didn't mind. I actually liked that they lived.
Yeah. I don't mind as much if I feel like the characters have earned it. If I feel like I really like the characters and I'm like, yeah, I want to see them, maybe not like everything is hunky-dory out of it, but them have a chance at the end, you know? Yeah,
it's bittersweet that way. And I think after watching, all the main characters die up to that point, it kind of felt earned that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, with that, I think, unless anyone has any last-minute things to add, I think we can wrap it up right here.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. It was lovely to have you. Hopefully we can have you on again sometime in the future. Justin, always lovely to have you.
Indeed.
All right, and with that, join us next week for, I believe it'll still be Who Framed Roger Rabbit, if we have...
So are we going to have the second film as well, or are we not doing that one?
No, next, we're behind the curtain, Justin, we're going to record 2 at a time so that we're backed up. That I can release the next week so that people... No, you didn't hear that. You can just...
Okay, yeah, redo. Rewind.
Ignore me!
Ignore me!
But with that, thank you so much for listening, and join us next week. Until then, we are on Apology Geek Out, and we're out.